Hello and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Government Watchdog supports motion to unseal Hinman documents in the Ripple versus SEC case. This is good. This is good news. It's always good to see agencies are not only just supporting Ripple, but supporting the truth, right? Because as we know, the SEC have fought really dirty in this lawsuit. It's been very surprising to see the lengths and the tactics that they will do and go to try and win this case. So we already know that there was just so much fight that they had to try and avoid handing these Hinman documents over, not only just to the public, but even Ripple, right, to help with the actual lawsuit. You know, they were told many times that they had to hand these documents over, and they adamantly fought against it. So much so that, you know, some legal experts actually thought that, you know, they would actually settle the case with Ripple before that they would hand them over, because they thought there was some kind of smoking gun in there, because they was fighting just so hard to not hand them over. But as we also do know, you know, when Brad Garlinghouse did eventually receive the documents and look through them, he did say, you know, when you see the truth and how dirty and corrupt the SEC is, it will shock you. So there clearly must be something in there that they don't want us to see, which makes sense why they're trying to hide it from us so much, right? But let's get into the article and then we can discuss that a bit more, okay? So, Forbes journalist Dr. Roslyn Layton is receiving support for her motion to intervene in the lawsuit between Ripple Labs and the Securities Exchange Commission, seeking public access to the Hinman speech documents. Empower Oversight, Whistleblowers and Research has expressed its support for the motion. Empower is a non-profit, non-partisan organisation that works to improve independent oversight of government and corporate misconduct. Its mission is to help insiders document and report corruption to inappropriate authorities. Importance of the Hinman documents in the Ripple case. Via Twitter, the government watchdog wrote that founder and president Jason Foster's organisation supports the motion to unseal the Hinman documents related to the SEC conflicts of interest in cryptocurrencies. In a press release, Foster stated that the public deserves answers from the SEC about what exactly the agency knew about Hinman's speech and when it knew it. Quote, "The SEC has consistently stonewalled any attempts from public interest transparency organisations, including Empower Oversight, to shine a light on conflicts of interest and ethical questions at the agency." Unquote. The statement goes on to say that Empower has been ignored by the US agency since August 2021. At that time, the government watchdog made a request, which is still the subject of an ongoing Freedom of Information Act lawsuit against the SEC. Last October, Empower Oversight filed its opposition to the SEC's motion for summary judgment in the FOIA lawsuit over documents related to conflicts of interest and selective enforcement in cryptocurrency cases. In December, the organisation also filed a records request with the SEC seeking full records of communications with a list of names. Thus, Empower's interest aligns with the intent of Dr. Roslyn Layton, who argues that the Ripple case against the SEC will decide the future of cryptocurrencies in the United States. According to Dr. Layton, the case will serve as a legal referendum on the SEC's entire system of regulation by enforcement for the industry, which is why the public has a legitimate interest in the Hinman documents. Motion to intervene is amended. I'm not going to get into that part of the article just simply because I can explain that one quickly without having to read the rest of it. It's just basically that Dr. Layton has had to amend her motion to intervene slightly because the wording may have got the motion not granted just on a technicality. So to avoid going through that and getting denied on a technicality, she's just basically amended the motion to avoid that kind of scenario, okay? But back to the matter at hand. This is good news. Yeah, this is real good news. It's good to see that Empower are not letting this go. They're not stopping, regardless of how much the SEC are trying to bat them away and trying to ignore them. They're letting them know that they're not going anywhere. They're keeping on the tail. And it's good that they're trying to fight for the truth, which is what they are there for. And it really does just show you, again, how bad this makes the SEC look, right? When you've got, agencies that are trying to fight for, a clean justice system and against corruption. And then you've got the SEC here who are like battling against them, which is clearly showing that they have something to hide. I mean, in the article, it says that, they've been chasing them since August 2021. And I do remember this. What happened was they put in a Freedom of Information Act request on them, and basically they sent them a load of documents, but they were basically like unformatted and some of the pages were missing. So when they got it, the organization got it, they could barely read what was on the paper, and a lot of pages were missing, so they couldn't really make sense of any of it. And so, they kind of went back to the SEC and they were just like, oh, whoops-a-daisy, sorry about that. I don't know how that happened. Clearly, we know exactly what they were up to. And so, they're playing little games like this, trying to, drag the whole thing on. And it kind of just shows you as well, like, their defiance, right? Because it shows you how fearless they are. Because this is an organization that are trying to fight against corruption, and you're clearly just kind of dragging your feet and showing that you don't want to be cooperative and showing that you clearly have something to hide, So it does just go to show you how, how these agencies can be. And I know when they're in these kinds of positions, it is hard to kind of prosecute the workers there, the staff there, right? But man, like, the defiance that they're showing is, it's remarkable to say the least. But yeah, it is good to see that they are fighting to try and get the truth out here, because, one thing I will say is, SEC really didn't want those documents to get over to Ripple, right? But eventually they did, and they didn't settle. Okay. So who knows what the reason is for that? Maybe the things that were in the document weren't that bad, although Brad Garlinghouse did say it was. Or maybe they're thinking, well, hey, if it only goes to Ripple, hey, if we can get them sealed, then the public will never see them anyway, and then it's only hearsay as what the Ripple will talk about. So maybe they're hoping if these can remain sealed, that they can still save face in the eye of the public. Maybe if the motion does get granted to bring the Hinman documents out, maybe at that point the SEC might want to go to Ripple to settle, because if they do settle, I think it's highly likely they would make Ripple sign an NDA on the Hinman documents so that they don't get released. That's just a theory. I'm not saying that that's definitely going to happen, but it makes you think. So yeah, I do think at the moment, a lot of cryptocurrency companies are aware of what the SEC are doing, because we can all see it, we all have eyes, right? And even us retail holders. But what you've got to think is there's people out there who not only don't hold XRP, but they also don't even hold cryptocurrencies in general, right? And they probably just look at the SEC as, upstanding citizens upholding the law. They look at them as heroic, fighting the good fight, right? Because they're not aware of the goings on within the cryptocurrency industry. And so these documents getting out may help to expose them, because if these documents do get out and there really is bad things in there that the SEC didn't want to get out, and which does really show a web of lies and corruption and deceit, well, I'm assuming a lot of media outlets will pick up on that, which will then mean it'll get widestream adoption in terms of, people picking it up. It will, gain a lot of traction out there. And then the general public will see that from mass media coverage. So it does make me think what this could possibly mean if the motion does get granted. But, you know, even if it don't, it's just good to see that people are fighting for what's right and fighting to try and go against the SEC, because, you know, these guys are clearly power drunk right now. We know that what they're trying to do to crypto, we know what their plans are. It's evident to see, and they're making it very clear. So I'm all for this. I'm really hoping it does get granted. I'm glad to see that the, you know, Empire are in support of Dr. Roslyn Layton, and I wish Dr. Roslyn Layton good luck. I think it can only support us. But what do you guys think? I mean, what do you even think's in the documents? You know, like, I mean, you know, Brad Garlinghouse said it would shock us when we find out what's in there. And that really does make me wonder, like, what could be in there? Because we've already seen so many bad things, you know, like being a Bill Hinman working for the law firm that was dealing with Ethereum, you know, him leaving the SEC to go back to the law firm after putting in the speech and things like that. Like, we've seen so many shady things and dealings with the SEC. It really does make me wonder what could happen now to actually shock us after everything that we've already seen. But it's very interesting. What do you guys think could be in there? And do you guys think it could lead to a settlement if the documents come out? Do you think that could be the trigger that maybe really pushes the SEC to finally say, hey, we've got to settle this before this makes us really look bad? It'd be interesting to find out what you guys think. So drop a comment and let me know. Thank you for watching, guys, and until the next one, take care.